This video has the potential to change your life, and I don't say that half-heartedly because I genuinely mean it. Now, this is a slightly different video from my previous videos, but I truly believe that this has the potential to change your life if you're willing to let it. And when we think about financial freedom and what we're trying to achieve in our life, one of the biggest things that always holds us back is ourself. Now, you might not choose to believe this, but we are our own limiting factor within most things. Our own limiting self-belief, our own limiting everything, it's on us. We put that on other people. We are the ones that stop ourselves from achieving exactly what we want to achieve. Now, I recently read a book that changed so much for me, I think forever. It's a very simple book that anyone can read, and I can guarantee that everyone will come out of it a better person. The book is called 4 Agreements, and you may well have heard of it, you may not have done. I'll put a little picture on the screen right now. It is a very simple book, and if you're not a reader, I am not a reader. It takes me a long time to read things, but it's a very small book, and it didn't take me long to read at all. It's a simple concept as well, and the concept allows you to get that personal freedom for yourself. And I don't mean that in a small way. I truly believe that following the principles or the 4 agreements and keeping yourself accountable to those has the potential to absolutely change your life for the better. Absolutely. So let's start by having a look at the book itself, and I'll go through all of the 4 agreements one by one and what they mean. So the 4 agreements are the 4 key principles of what you should do in your life to lead a more fulfilled, happy and free life. And again, this is not bullshit. This is true. It's quite a spiritual book, and if you're not spiritual or you are religious in some other way, it really doesn't matter, because the core principles, the 4 agreements, remain the same. Like they're like cemented in real just common sense. So it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs, if you are spiritual in any way, it really doesn't matter. So don't let that distract you from the core principles or the 4 agreements that are actually there. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Now you might hear that and think, well, does that mean, don't let people down or do what you say you're going to do, etc., etc. But the biggest part of this for yourself in terms of your own freedom is think about what you're saying. Think about what you're saying to yourself. How many times have we self-deprecated or given ourselves a ton of shit because we feel like that's what we deserve? We don't love ourselves with our words. And so this is something that we do all of the time. And it's also for other people as well. So think about what you're saying and the impact of what you're saying to yourself and to others. Because throughout your life, you would have had other people projecting stuff onto you. They would have been telling you, oh, you're an idiot, you're this, you're that, you'll never be able to do this, you can't do that. But what they're doing is they're projecting their own limiting beliefs onto you. But what that does is it sows a seed in your mind. So the seed just gets put in there. And now every time we're not impeccable with our words and we feed into that, we start watering that seed. And that seed over your lifetime has grown into these massive trees. These trees making you feel, actually, I can't do this. I'm not capable of this, which is absolute bullshit. You are capable of literally anything you want to do. If you truly want to do it, you are capable of making anything happen. I truly believe that, honestly. Now, with that, all of these trees or all of these seeds that have been planted throughout your life have now grown into this huge forest because we've been feeding it with our own words in our mind, and we haven't been truly impeccable with our word. So we need to make sure that when we're talking to ourselves, about ourselves, with ourselves, we need to be mindful around what we're saying and the impact of what that has on the seeds that have been planted in our mind. Does that make sense? All of these are linked, so we'll go into all of them one by one, and then when we come back at the end, you'll see how all of these are linked together. So the first one, be impeccable with your word. And now number 2, don't take things personally. It sounds like such an easy thing to say, like don't take things personally. What do you mean? As I said in the first one, anytime someone says something to you, for the most part, they are projecting their own limiting beliefs. So they might say, oh, you look like you've put on weight. And you may well have done, it doesn't really matter. But instead of taking it personally, I can guarantee that they're projecting their own insecurities onto you. There is not a time where you can't think about an example where something like this has happened to you. And if you truly think about the situation, you can pull it back to someone projecting their own limiting beliefs or their own personal feelings onto you. And it's not about you. And as soon as you stop taking things personally, it's one of the best things that you can do. Because it hurts. We feel something. As soon as someone says something, we feel it. It could even come down to an interaction you have in a shop. You know, everyone's stressed. Everyone's angry. They're going around the shops. Who wants to be in a shop on a Saturday? No one wants to be in a shop on a Saturday. And so someone's snapped at you and they've said something and you're like, oh. And the immediate thing you do is go, that hurt me. It didn't hurt you. Like, it's made you feel something, but just don't take it personally. That person's super stressed and they're just projecting all of the shit that they've got on in their day on you. But don't let that become one of these things that plants a seed in your mind. Nothing is personal. Anything that happens, none of it is personal. So you really need to try, and you can't do these things overnight. Because we have not done any of these 4 agreements for our life, you cannot just switch it off. This is a process, but as soon as you understand the 4 agreements and the impact of them and how powerful they can be, and I don't say that lightly, it sounds like I'm bigging this thing up to be this monumental thing, but it is. It makes a huge difference on the weight that you carry around with you and your ability to think and act. I 100% can guarantee that for you. And if you disagree, just let me know in the comments, because I would love to see someone that's tried this and tried this for some period and told me that this is bullshit, because I can guarantee there won't be any comments that say that. So not taking things personally is a huge step that also helps with the first agreement and being impeccable with your word, because it makes you think before you say something, before you're projecting to other people. And it also, when people project to you, it stops you feeding into those seeds that are being planted. It helps you just be able to just chop them down. We're just chopping down these trees to just get rid of all of these things that have been planted throughout our life. I don't know why the tree analogy, it just makes sense. Just deal with it. So the first one, be impeccable with your word. Second one, don't take things personally. And the third one is don't make assumptions. Now, we make assumptions all of the time. As soon as it's all linked. So as soon as someone said something to us, as soon as someone's projected whatever they're feeling onto us, we've taken it personally, and then we've suddenly made this assumption: that person hates me. That person hates me, or I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to do that. Do you know those things? Do you know those things for sure? Because I can guarantee you do not. Now, on top of this, we make assumptions about every single thing that we don't know. Our brain wants to connect things. That's what it does. It's firing things off all the time, and it wants to connect things together. However, when it doesn't have that information, it makes up the difference. And you can't let it. And that's easy to say, you can't let it, because it wants to do it anyway. But you have to try, and if you don't have the information and you can't control it, you just go, well, I don't know. And if you do want to find out, ask the question. I had this recently, it came up, it was a work thing, and immediately my mind's going. I had half these little snippets of information, but not all of the data I needed. So my mind's there trying to make up the difference, which is then making assumptions. And it causes panic, it causes stress. But you can't feed into that. You have to just go, well, I don't know. It might be right, it might not be. But what am I going to do? I'm going to try and find out the information. So then I'm not making assumptions, but I'm absolutely finding the data so that I actually have the answers, so my brain doesn't go into overdrive, and try and create these connections for me. So we've got be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, don't make assumptions. And we have one more agreement. And that is the most important one that ties all of these together. And that is quite simply, always try your best. And a lot of people might think that means give 100%, your 100% every single day. But every day, our 100% is actually different. Some days, all we've got in us is to just turn up and try. We've got that little bit in us. But that's your 100% for that day. And if we beat ourselves up about trying our best and not being 100%, as in our peak, every single day, the rest of them, all the other agreements, we start feeding back into. We start not being impeccable with our word, giving ourselves a load of grief for not giving 100% that day. But you've got to do every single day. You've got to try. And when it comes to these other three agreements as well, every day you turn up and you try. I'm not saying that every day you won't take things personally. I'm not saying every day you won't make assumptions. I'm not saying every day you won't be impeccable with your word. But as soon as you have those things in your mind, you can start to catch yourself when you're not doing those things. And again, that's a part of being your best. It's not about being perfect. That is literally a fallacy. It doesn't even exist. There's no such thing. It's about being your best, whatever your best is on that day. If you can truly say that you gave your best on that day, and this isn't just about following the 4 agreements, this is about in life. If you can say that you tried your best on that day, that's the best you can do. And then give yourself the room to be okay with that. Be compassionate with yourself. Be understanding. Don't beat yourself up. Don't start self-deprecating because you haven't been what you wanted to be on that day. As long as you tried your best with what you did and what you had, then that's all you can possibly do. So these 4 agreements are very simple. Be impeccable with your word, which is simply make sure you understand the impact of your words on others and yourself. And I reiterate the on yourself part, because if you don't truly love yourself, then it is very difficult to do anything else. So be impeccable with the word to yourself. The second, don't take things personally. This one is so liberating and so freeing. Don't take things personally. It will set you free. Don't make assumptions. The assumptions are what feed into the rest of them. And always try your best. And whatever your best is on that day. These things are so simple. You say them out loud and goes, well, what difference is that going to make? But I can tell you now, having read this book a couple of months ago now, it's the best feeling. It takes so much noise and stress out of my mind because I'm not constantly going around in circles with all of these things. It's like a cycle, because as soon as you assume something, as soon as you take something personally, you assume it, you then start chatting shit about yourself, or makes you then feel like, so it ties you up in knots inside you. And as soon as you let that free, it is genuinely like a weight is lifted off you. It's a simple, small book. I'll put a link in the description, you can check it out. It's a cheap book as well. You can get it on Kindle, you can get it on audiobook, whatever you choose to do. You can even, I found a link to the whole, someone reading it on YouTube if you so choose to want to. It doesn't matter to me how you read it, consume it, whatever, but please do, because it is genuinely one of the best books I've ever read in my life for the impact that it's had on me. And like I said, there's a huge part of this that feeds into not just your own personal freedom, but your own personal freedom allows you with your professional freedom, like your financial freedom, everything like that. Because if you can't free yourself personally, that's going to be the thing that holds you back. Always. It makes you look at things in different ways. So to be able to truly unlock this unlocks everything else for you. It really does. Now this is a different video from my normal ones because I'm normally talking about apps and different things like that. But this was so important to me to share with you because of the impact that it can have on the rest of these things as well. So don't think it's not linked, because it truly is. Again, I hope you liked this. I'd love to know if you've read this. Drop me a comment to let me know your favourite part of the book, or just drop me a comment to say that you've read it. I'd love to understand how many people have actually read this book and the impact that it's had on your lives, or the things that you've taken away from it, something I may not have mentioned here. And if you're interested, you can join my channel below as well. There's loads of other content available. You can join my Discord, realtalk.business/Discord, where we can chat about these things. I genuinely believe that together we are stronger. I'm trying to build a community around my channel that are like-minded people that want to make something different for themselves, a better life. And this, in this video, is one of the core fundamental things that will help create you a better life. I genuinely believe that. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, something slightly different, but something genuinely true to my heart. I hope it has the same level of impact on you as it has for me. And otherwise, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.